So we're thrilled to welcome back friend of the show, best friend of the show, original friend of the show,
right?
The excellent petty geek, writer, thoroughbred breeder owner, analyst at Tampa Bay Downs, host of the Breeders' Cup Future Stars Friday Forecast, Ren Carothers. Welcome back.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I didn't know I had all those credentials. Heck yeah. I'm awesome.
I'm just reading what your PR team sent us.
I know, right? I didn't know I had a hype team. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Well,
thank you, guys.
That's when you know you've made it. Aside from being on the show in a three-peat, this is the third time you've been on the show. We've only been around for a year and a half. So
this is the best Oreo ever right here.
That's right. I don't know what pictures you have of us, but obviously it's reason enough to have you on the show for a third time.
I only bring out the blackmail when truly necessary.
You know, so that way we had a horse named Petty Geek, which you got the pick, and then she's a mommy for another program. But we do have a horse named Blackmail, actually, that we'll give you credit for also, Ren. Just so that people can perpetuate the image of you being a badass.
Right on. Whenever I can get credit and look pretty formidable, I'm happy.
Well, you're always formidable on this show.
Thank you.
And it's a great time to have you on because we just had the Sam Davis over the weekend, the local prep for the Tampa Bay Derby. It's a pretty good stretch battle between John Hancock and Owen Almighty. Just give us your reaction, your impression of that race, and just kind of the strength of the 3-year-olds overall.
I mean, I was super impressed. John Hancock, for him to duel with Owen like that throughout the race in just his second career start and stretching out. I mean, how can you not be impressed by that alone? And then it ended up being a stakes record. So on top of it, you're like, dang, that's your second career start, man. What a way to make it a signature performance. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Sorry, I had to go there. So in any case, the other thing I will say, though, I was kicking myself as the track handicapper because here's the thing. I was all on Camp Hale, the In Wilkes horse. And for good reason. The horse did run really well. He just wasn't to the level of these horses on the day. But John Hancock, I had seen him schooling the day before. And Brad Cox's foreman, Angel Martinez, was there with him. And the horse looked extraordinary. Now, he's not a very big horse. I don't know if you could pick up on that watching the race. Yep. He's probably about 15 and a half hands. And so when you're already now just making your second career start, you're a smaller fellow, but as Angel said, he gets over the ground really well, and we saw that play out. I was just thinking to myself, well, gosh, he's going to be a short price because, just the connections, Brad Cox, Flavien Prat. I'm going to try to beat him. And I didn't even put him in my top 3 because I wanted to root for Gerald Bennett with Naughty Rascal. And come on, right? He's our, leading trainer 9 times. And he's been really wanting a horse that he can actually put to the Tampa Bay Derby because that's something he's always wanted to win. And then I thought Poster for sure could get up for 3rd. So I didn't even have John Hancock in my top 3, but I respected him. And I also respected him. And I should have put more weight to this. Angel Martinez told me that John Hancock had been working a head-and-head with Hit Show, the older horse, the older stakes winner in the barns. And so I should have put more, again, credence on that. And because it bore out, I mean, this horse, for him to dig in as he did for that win was super impressive. And going back to just the size, I mean, good things come in small packages. John and I know that very well.
I don't know what you're talking about, Ren. So.
But I will also say, people do forget, and I say it a lot, but Northern Dancer was like 15-3, and he won the Derby, the Preakness. I think he was 3rd in the Belmont. So it's all about stride.
Right.
And heart.
That's amazing. It took 3 minutes for Ren to go back 60 years in the pedigree. I thought it usually takes a little bit longer, but that's why we love you.
Who had the under? Who had the under 3 minutes on Ren going back? Ren, is there anything? When Adam and Eve owned their first horse, is there anything that genetically that has now carried forward? No, a lot of people. I give you credit for talking about the winner. Actually, John Hancock and Owen Almighty. Battling nip and tuck for the entire race. A lot of buzz on Poster, the 3rd place horse.
Yes,
who didn't break well, came running at the end. Previously undefeated, had run an 83 buyer in the Remsen as a 2-year-old going 9 furlongs. And now here shortening up to a 1.16 miles and made a huge run down the stretch. What do you think about the future of Poster versus John Hancock versus Owen Almighty as they start getting to the climb of 9 and 10 furlongs?
Well, a Poster obviously has more of that deep 2-turn run all day type pedigree. I know he's by Munnings, but then his mother is not more than half, but not quite 3/4 sister to Bernardini. Because Bernardini, of course, being a son of AP Indy, Poster's mom, Pinup, being a daughter of Tappet by Pulpit by AP Indy. And so then his grandmother's Cara Raffaella. I mean, it's just a beautiful pedigree. It truly is. And one of the things that I was so impressed by in the Remsen was just how professional he was. He really just waited, bided his time. And when the jock said, okay, now you can go, he went like an older horse would. And so I was, again, not surprised that he would get up for third. So when we're talking about stretching out to the 1.25 miles, obviously, at the end of the day, these are race horses. Racing is about speed. But when you've got 20 horses in one race, and now you're going to be asked to go this 1.25 mile distance. And it looks to me like we're going to have a pretty peppy pace in the Derby based upon a lot of the horses we're seeing really show their quality as we're getting into these Derby preps. I'm going to be looking more for either a horse that's going to be sitting just off, just behind, or a deep closer.
So do any of these 3 horses fit your criteria as far as a horse that you would think would run well in the Tampa Bay Derby and then ultimately the Kentucky Derby? Or are you waiting to see?
I'm waiting to see. I want to see if he comes back for the Tampa Bay Derby, see what goes on there. I like I said, I do love the heart they had, and I don't know. He seemed like a cool customer too, hanging out in the stall. I got to pet him. He was nice and all that. But I can't bet on sentimentality. I can't be like, oh, I petted him and now I have to play him. He's 3-1.
That's an angle I should try with the way my bets go. Just bet on the cute ones.
And I should go back when I say a deep closer. The Derby's such a mess sometimes with like the trips and whatnot. Obviously, it's better if your horse isn't in the melee of all of that they are more forwardly placed, because they're going to have to navigate traffic. I just feel like a lot of the times also when we do get to the Derby, the horses who tend to like to have that type of running style, not always, but a lot of time are the type that do have a lot of heart. So and will persevere through traffic. And I look for those types. It's not just like when I say a horse that will close, I don't just mean any horse that can just pick up pieces. I mean a horse that's also shown heart. Like look what Sandman did in the Southwest.
I was going to say, I know a certain gray horse that's shown that.
Exactly. Like you need a horse like that because that's something you cannot train into them. They either have the heart and guts to come back after a terrible start like that, or they don't.
Right. Yeah. Just a quick follow up on a Sam Davis, because I didn't watch the entire card. I thought it was a little bit of an indictment of the closers that you had 2 horses that had never been 2 turns. They went 22-3, 46-1, 110-2, and none of the closers really made a dent. Like Poster ran okay. He was wide on the turn. Maybe you can give him a little bit of a mulligan for that. But I don't know, Ren, was the track playing favorable to speed? Like how do you analyze the dynamics of the race? Because it seemed to me with the way those 2 were dueling, someone should have come and picked up the pieces.
Well, I mean, I think the track was pretty fair. I will say, I mean, Lacara obviously in the Suncoast, she went gate to wire, but nobody was going for the lead. Her laugh had missed the break, had a really bad start, which give her kudos, man, because she was able to overcome that and get up for second. Of course, she was well back because Lacara won by like 6 1/4 lengths, and she did it in a really quick time because we had a 4-year-old male go ahead and actually set the track record for the 1:40 distance just the week prior. And so she was just like a tick off that, I believe. And so that was pretty nice. And I know a lot of people were doubting her based upon the Pocahontas, even though she won it. They're like, well, who did she beat? She can't help who she beats, who's in the race. And in the Breeders' Cup, I think a lot of people kind of missed that when the horses came out of the gate, she rolled over her toes. Yeah. And that can, jar a horse up. So for her to come out like that, she looked phenomenal out there. And Dylan Davis, we had such a fun interview with him after the race because we had kind of hurry because the horses were about to go out onto the track and they have to come back onto the PA for the post parade. And so we're trying to wrap it up. And I don't know, I'm goofy, as you may have discovered. So I ended up like, yeah, that was awesome. Go get it. And we did like this fist pump. And the guys, the balcony of the jocks balcony is right over where I do these interviews. And the jocks up top are like, that was so much energy. I want to jump down there and do an interview. But, you know, that was a really cool win. But again, for her laugh to overcome that, I thought that really speaks quite highly of her ability and her heart. Going back to some of these other races, when you're talking about speed, we had horses come off. For example, Nick Style. What does that say about her? She caught Dazzling Blue. I was trying to beat Nick Style in the Minaret with Dazzling Blue because I'm of the opinion that horses that do well over Big Sandy do well at Tampa. Mm-hmm. And Dazzling Blue had put up a career best figure running at Belmont. And so I was like, maybe we can beat Nick Style here on top. Maybe. No, she gets me by the nose on the wire there. But that horse has done very little wrong. She's only lost one race, and that was to Ways and Means. And yeah, the track had moisture, and I don't remember if it was sloppy or muddy, but still.
Right.
Sorry, I'm going on. There's so much that happened this weekend there. So
yeah, no,
and Nutella Fella went in the Pelican. That was awesome for Contessa. He said he was getting worried. He had to dig in and get up through the rail to get that victory. And they're hoping that they can go Golden Shaheen at Maidan next, which would be amazing.